emailed that one guy that called.
Here we are.
All right, how's it going, everybody?
Doing good.
Good, good. Okay.
Doing good.
Who was that? Awesome sauce. All right, I like it.
Jesse, is your mic on?
It is. But let me fix it.
You sound like you're in a can.
All right, hold on one second.
It sounds like you're actually, it's like the audio sounds like it's coming off the back wall.
Okay, so let's shoot. So I do that.
All the players here today, he's gone through the emotions to reach you. Made a good
tried making verdict the first, nearly made it, and then here at the second.
Yeah, it's almost a perfect start by Stacey Lewis, as you say, two really good shots at the first, but then even that's the second.
And I did that.
There it is, no problems.
And of course, Anthony dropped the shot, so now she was actually in the lead on her own.
There's a lot of background noise, guys.
Well,
Okay, can you guys hear me? Is this
No.
better?
No.
I said,
Okay.
dropped the shot.
Not too good. There's a lot of background noise, Jesse.
Yeah, well, that's just, everybody needs to be muted.
Yes, it was. I mean, she needed to.
Yeah.
Hey, Sherry?
I already took care of it.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Is that okay? Or you
Yes.
still sound really far away?
Still sound a little far away to me, but we can hear you.
Yeah, it's better.
It's better? Okay. All right, we'll have to make do for now. I don't want to take up any more of your time. So let's go ahead and get right into this. All right. So I see a few new faces, which is good. Which is good, and also maybe something that may be a little bit of a setback. So we are on week 3 of our DocuSign compliance like a boss classes here. So we are moving incrementally or advancing incrementally throughout this this training series. Okay, fret not. We will have this recorded, and all the other previous trainings are recorded for you to reference later. Okay. Couple things too. If you are on this call and you have noticed something not working correctly in your command, be sure to send me an email at my personal email address here. Oh, that's not working either. Okay. Wow. I think a reboot would be good for my computer. Okay. We'll work with it. Okay. There's my email there. Tech at 1KWSA that I'm entering in here is for Heather. Copy us both on your email so that the two of us can help you get your problems straightened out there, okay? Pretty good that I put them in the chat. Okay, got a few head nods. I have a lot of cameras turned off that I see here. You're gonna need to reply by audio for me, okay? So just unmute yourself briefly to acknowledge what I'm saying, just so I make sure that I have everybody keeping track with me. Okay, I see a few head nods, but that is literally only 9 people out of the 20 that we have here. So,
I can hear you.
okay, very good. Okay.
We're good.
All right. Let me get this screen shared and we'll jump right in. Okay, can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to briefly go through the process of what we need to get to DocuSign rooms. I'm going to say the advised and correct way. Okay. There are a couple things that you need to be aware of as we move through this. Okay. And here's the reason why. We're going to go in a certain order and use this order specifically when creating your opportunities. Okay. So I'm going to do a brief recap of what we have covered and go through those exact same steps. Okay. So what we need first is, all right, we first need a client. Okay. So the minimum requirements.
Entonces, papaya y no fresas, una u otra.
Just mute everybody.
Yeah, I've muted everybody.
Folks, if you've got your, yeah, you be careful because background noise comes through on everybody. If something's going on in the background and you have your mic open, it kind of interrupts everybody. So please be cognizant of that.
Okay, so we need a contact to start with. So here's Bugs Bunny. And the next step that we're going to need is an opportunity. So minimum requirements for a contact is first and last name, and then you can move forward. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and work on an opportunity here. The way you can create it is right here by clicking this button, create opportunity. Sorry guys, give me 1 second.
There's a lot of high-pitched noise in the background.
Yeah. Okay, sorry guys. I'm trying to mute everybody here. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you. Everybody just needs to be conscious. Like you said, just mute yourselves.
Okay. Thanks for rolling with the punches on this one, guys. I really
I
do
think
appreciate
it's Larry. Larry, mute yourself.
it. Okay. All right. I think we are fine now and stable. Okay, so first and last name required for your contact. Opportunity. There we go. There's my echolocation on my cursor. That's what I was looking for. That's where we're going to click to create an opportunity, okay? Important things here, if you're on a team, make sure your team is selected. And today we're going to go with a buyer. Make sure your correct market center is selected. Make sure your client is selected correctly. I mean, it should be because
A
you're
little green notebook.
okay. Everybody, you need to be muted, please. Everybody's background noise is coming through. This is important stuff, so make sure that you're muted. Okay, so we have our client selected. We have our opportunity name. You'll notice that every required field has a red asterisk, so make sure that that is filled in, okay? You'll also see that there are certain other fields that don't have it, so you can just go right by it. If you kind of know what budget your client is looking in, you can throw that in there too, right? You can put in a commission right there. You can change it later if it's not exactly 3%. That's fine. For teams, make sure that the opportunity is assigned to the correct people. Okay, so teams, you can select who it needs to go to, who needs to be assigned to it. Okay. All righty. So next
Jesse,
step.
I'm sorry, one quick question on the commission rate. On the buyer side, I understand it's 2-3%, but if you're doing a listing, would you put 7 or 6 there, or would you still just do your portion?
Your portion.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that is for tracking your potential income in the future. So typically we don't double dip, so you would just put half.
Yeah, or whatever the agreed upon split that you have with your seller, that would be your portion. Cool. All right, so let's get this opportunity created. You'll notice that they're separated out by date. So today's the 18th. We're going to work on this one. Click into the opportunity by selecting the name. Okay. All right, so here's a note. Unless you know specifically which address your client's looking at or what this opportunity is for, do not fill this in. This is the property they're interested in. It is not their address. Okay, this is not your client address. Your client address is inputted into the contact card. Okay. Alrighty. And if you do end up putting something in here, Someone needs to mute themselves. I hear outside wind. Okay. All right, so here's the opportunity. So if you enter in anything incorrectly here, don't worry. You can replace the information later. Okay. There is a clear button here. However, it doesn't clear it. You can't save it because it does have required fields, right? Since they're required, you can't save it. Okay. So just use this portion when you know specifically which property your clients want to buy. Okay. Now, here's where we get into our documents. Here is the document section within Command. Okay. You'll notice that it says to start work with opportunity, please select checklist type first. So if you notice over here on the left-hand side, we have the option that says please pick checklist type. So this down arrow is a drop down. So just select the specific one that you're looking for. We have two types at this point, residential and new construction. There are two, I think there'll be a few more types coming through, right? Because we do have land purchase transactions occurring. And there are other things that might be there, you know, short sale, that kind of thing, right? So we'll have specific types because each type will require a different piece or a different set of documents for compliance, right? So just select the appropriate one. In this case, we're going to use residential resale. Now you notice that once I selected that type, it gave us a few more options. We have consultation, under contract, and closed. Okay, so today's class is centered around document management. Okay, so this is where you're going to be managing this. This right here, this section right here is your compliance section. So this is the part that you would submit to the broker for review of your file. Okay. Now for consultation, there are a couple of things that you need to know about. So we have down here buyer broker agreement, and it says optional. You'll notice that the others say required or conditionally required. Okay. Now, a question that I always get is, well, when do I submit this to the market center? When do I submit this for review? Generally, the rule of thumb is if you have an executed agreement, employment agreement, you must submit it to the market center. Is that correct? Yep, I got a good head nod there from Jody. So if you use the buyer broker agreement during your consultation and you leverage it and get it signed, add your files here, and we'll show you how to do that here, and make sure to submit it.
72 hours.
Yes, that is the rule, 72 hours. Okay. Now, where are we at next? Where are our documents, Jesse? I'm glad you asked. We're going to go ahead and start this transaction. Okay, you see this button here? If you have DocuSign Rooms selected, you should only have this button. Me, since I'm tech coordinator and stuff like that, I have the two different types just to see the difference between the two. Don't hook up your dot loop to this. We're already moving on to DocuSign Rooms, so just leave it DocuSign Rooms. Okay. So we're going to select DocuSign Rooms for this. You'll notice that it will automatically take me to rooms.docusign.com. My information is already pre-populated, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. All right. So now we're in the document section of DocuSign Rooms.
Jesse,
Yes.
okay, when I click start a transaction, I get a pop-up window that says sync transaction, and that before I sync the transaction, I need to assign agents. Was that something I should have done when creating?
Are you doing this from a team aspect?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, agents will need to be selected before.
Okay, then I just missed that step then, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for teams, you'll have a selection that says buyer agent 1, buyer agent 2, right? So typically I've seen teams put on the Rainmaker as number 1, and then number 2 is the one that's working it. That varies by team, so check with your team leadership. Okay. Okay. So now there are a few other things that you would need to have done before you can do what I'm about to do. first your DocuSign Rooms account would need to be set up. And we sent out a document not too long ago with the instructions on how to do this. If you require this, please send me an email and I will make sure you get a copy of the instructions for connecting DocuSign Rooms to your command. And we'll make sure you get that taken care of, okay? All right, so we're gonna add some docs to this room, okay? And the way we do that is by clicking the add button in the upper right corner. All right, does everybody see that? Okay, I'm gonna switch this. I wanna see more faces. Okay. Sorry guys, bear with me. I wanna see as many as I possibly can. Okay. All right, so here we are clicking the add button. We're gonna now select DocuSign Forms. Okay. And here we go. It'll bring up this window here where we can select the libraries and the forms. Now, we have DocuSign Forms library here and we have DocuSign Form groups. The forms group will be something that the Market Center could put together for specific sets of docs, okay, in a group. They should be able to share that with us. That is under works, but just know that it is coming, okay? Select library is where we're gonna be hanging out most of the time today. So we're gonna select the drop down here and we get a few options, okay? We have AAR, we have Armless if you're connected to that association or that MLS. We have KW495, which is my Market Center. Yours might say 861. It's okay, it's the same form. You'll get the same ABA from there. The next one from that is the Melissa. So that's our MLS here in Tucson and that region. And then we have TAR forms. So we know that we have specific forms in each library, right? So who knows where the airport vicinity disclosure is? I have one finger going up saying, yes, I know where it's at. I got two. All right, so it's important to know where you can find your docs, okay? So who has the answer? Go ahead and give it to me. Is it here? Is it here? Is it up here? Who knows?
It's on our MLS, Southern Arizona, and the Melissa.
Okay, let's go ahead and click it. And let's see if we can find it. Doesn't look like it's there. I'm thinking it's here. Right, so there it is. Disclosure regarding vicinity of airport. Right, so it's important to know where your docs are coming from because you're gonna need to find them, okay? The cool thing is there's this forms finder here. So if I put in airport, if I spelled it correctly, it'll find it for me, right? So I can go through these 5 libraries here and type in airport. If it doesn't come up in one, it'll come up in another, okay? So that's one way to find your forms. So for this, we're gonna go ahead and add our consultation docs. And the airport vicinity is specific to a property area, so we'll leave that alone for now. Okay, so for now I have AAR selected and I wanna add my buyer docs to it. So I'm gonna type in buyer into my finder and anything that has the title buyer in it will appear, okay? It's all filtered out at this point. So we know that the buyer advisory is something that we'll need for our consultation docs. We'll also need the disclosure of, oh, not that one. We'll also need this one, the real estate agency and election disclosure and election form. We will need the wire fraud, and there's one more that we need right here, the buyer broker exclusive agreement. So you'll notice that I have 4 forms selected here, okay? I want to make sure that these get added, and I know I need one more, but I need to add these first. I'm gonna click add. The reason I'm clicking add now is because it will not retain the selected forms in your selection while you move between libraries. It'll blank it out. Okay, so one library at a time. Okay, here we go. We're gonna add the last one for our consultation docs, and that'll be the ABA. There it is. So the ABA will be found under KW 495 or KW 861. Okay, going to go ahead and add that. So there are a couple of things that we can do. Here on the ready form or the read, however you like to say it, potato kind of thing. You'll notice that some of the fields here are fillable, but they don't populate for you. Okay, so you'll just type that in. Boom. And boom. Boom. I swear I can type sometimes. Okay. We're there. Okay. The biggest question that I always get from everybody at this point is, why can't I check these boxes? Well, it's because this isn't where you check them. You'll check them in a later part of getting your signatures and such, okay? Make sure that your client name is there. As you can see, mine is. It populated just fine there. So we're good. We're going to go ahead and save that. Now, I want to open up something for you. So I'm going to click open this form again. And I want everybody to note this little button right here. Does everybody see that? It's just a sheet of paper. Okay. Make sure to move over the video feeds if you can't see it. It might be blocking it. Everybody see that document actions button? Okay, I got some head nods, good. So this button will have everything you need to do with a document. You can rename it from here, move it, and move is actually a big function. You can move it from one room to another. You can move it between folders within your room if you haven't created. It's a pretty cool little tool there. You can email these forms right from DocuSign. So say, for example, you wanted to make sure, or you forgot to add your transaction coordinator to the role and you wanted to make sure they got the copy, you can send them that way. There's a fax function within it. Might as well be sending carrier pigeons and smoke signals with that too. Little antiquated technology there. You can download the doc. Now, with downloads, there is a download option that downloads all of the docs. It does work, however, it does make things a little bit weird. It'll download the file, the folder in a zip form, and within that zip form we'll have 3 files, 3 file folders, and then your files. So it's funky. I don't like it. So I recommend, if you need to download something, download it individually right now until that bug gets taken care of. Okay, so here's where you would do that. If you wanted to print this because you're having a face-to-face consultation with your clients and you prefer them to have a wet signature right there and then, you can click the print button and it'll print for you, okay? If you're having a virtual consultation via Zoom, Google Meet, whatever your technology of choice is, you can send this form for signature right from this specific form, if it's the only form that you want signed. And because we have 4 other forms aside from this one, why would I just send it one at a time? It doesn't make sense. I want it all to go. So we'll show you how to create a packet, otherwise known as an envelope, okay? You also have the archive button and a delete button. So if you have multiple copies of something and you just want to keep the freshest thing available, there's your delete button. You can get rid of it that way, okay?
I like that. It didn't have that.
I'm sorry?
I like that because dot loop didn't have that. You just had to archive everything.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. The dot loop is the broker's copy, right? So the broker doesn't want you deleting things out of that copy, okay? DocuSign Rooms is not the broker's copy, technically, right? Over here, in the document section of command, in the compliance section, this is the broker's copy, okay? Here, you can't delete anything. Once you submit it and the broker rejects it, then you're given the opportunity to replace it. The previous file that you entered there doesn't go away. It's just replaced and it's archived so they can see what was done. Okay, we rejected this one. It was missing an initial or it was missing a checkbox. Here's the corrected copy with those things already taken care of. right? So be mindful of that. All right. So that's basically the summary of document actions. There's this other actions button here. If you're having trouble with it, there's a lot of help right in here, a lot of informational stuff. If you like to look at it, go ahead, but it doesn't really pertain to what we're needing to use the system for, okay? So we'll drop that there. There's a history tab, so it'll tell you, okay, I added this to the form, I updated the DocuSign form, I viewed it, I updated it, and I viewed it again. It'll keep track of that, okay? Then you have access, and who has access to this room? Who has access to the document, right? So it says KW admin and our market center. That's who has access to this. Are they going to go looking through your DocuSign room for your docs? No, that's your responsibility to make sure that you put your docs in your compliance folder. Okay. All right. And then, of course, this closes it out. All right. So for those of us that have transaction coordinators, one thing that you'll want to do for your room is right here under people. Okay. And the reason why this is part of the document management training here is because we have transaction coordinators for that, right? We have them just for that purpose. Make sure that we have all our docs and make sure that our files are complete for when we close this out, we get it paid, right? So there's an invite button here. You see this button here? Click it. And then type in your, swear, my typing is off today. Okay. Type in your transaction coordinator's email. And if it's associated, it automatically makes it agent owner. Okay. That's important. That's important. For transaction coordinator to have access to this room, this needs to be there. Okay. There are a couple others. Yeah, there's an external client that you can do. There's a vendor portion that you can do. There's a former agent. What I will not recommend is bringing in a client. You don't have to add them to the room. Okay.
Dusty, what do you mean by associated? I'm a TC for a team, and I don't think I've been added to their team within Command. Not yet, anyway. I'm still working on trying to get that figured out. But I guess, is that why you have the agent owner options? Because I just manually put my information in. I'm working out of Patrick's room with his login. But when I type in my email and name.
It just gives you external.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. But I need to get with you and figure out how to get associated then.
You would need to talk with the MCA.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why it's important. So this Jill will now have access to this room. And if I need her to, if I'm out and about and I'm like, hey, I can't get this Benzer response sent out, can you send it out for me or something? You know, I have it, it's already typed up, it's ready to go. I just need it sent. Can you send it for me? She can go in there and do that. I mean, as an example, right? So I want to click invite. So this will send the email to her, letting her know that she has access to this room. So when she goes into her DocuSign Rooms account, she can just, boom, there it is, access it right from hers.
Jesse, does the TC have to be added to every transaction, or can she just be on the whole entire
Added every
command for us?
Every transaction.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we were doing it anyway in .loop, right? We were adding whoever needed access to it to .loop anyway, so it doesn't really change a whole lot there. Okay, so leave it as is. This is pretty much it.
Jesse?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Heather is working on adding the TC on Teams to the whole system for every team member.
That might be true. I have not heard of anything.
Yeah, Dorothy, give Heather a call and ask how that's going to work for your team.
Yeah, she is the backend setup on this one. So that's a good resource there. Do me a favor anyway and copy me on it, just so I can still be part of that conversation. Okay. And in case there are any hiccups, I can use my resources for that too. Okay. So now that we have this there, we're going to go into envelopes. Okay. Here's the envelopes. So this is where we're going to get our electronically signed docs ready. Okay. So you can either click here on create a new envelope, or you can click the new button up here in the upper right. Both function the exact same way, and it'll take us to this screen. So everybody with me? Good. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and add our room docs. Since we've added them to the room, let's go ahead and add them. So there's the buyer advisory. We can just check all these boxes. Okay. And we're clicking add selected. All right. Now, if you're not happy with the order that these are in, that's okay. You can mix it up. You can go ahead and do what you need to. I typically do it in this order. Okay. Now, here's the cool part. For the signature portions, we're going to click on add recipient, and we're going to click on pre-tag roles. And you'll notice that we have different roles already attached to these forms, which is awesome. If you hover over the document's name, it'll tell you all the docs that are associated, or buyer one is associated with. Okay. So we know buyer one has a signature place in the buyer advisory, buyer broker agreement, the ABA, the read, or the wire fraud advisory. So that's good. We want that one there. Boom. If there's a second buyer, we'll want that one there too. For this one, we're just going to use the one. Okay, so there is a broker section on these forms. It's a little bit different because there's a manager part of it, and then there's a broker part. And they populate different fields in the forms. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to click on manager, and I'm going to select myself. And I'm going to show you why this is a little different. Seller one, seller two, they don't need to be a part of this. We're not working with them. We're only working with the buyer. Okay, so make sure you're selecting the correct recipient and add selected. Right, so it'll populate them here, which is awesome. If you're sending this to your clients for e-signature and you're having a virtual conversation, you might want to make yourself two. Or if there's a second buyer in there, order it 1, 2 if you want to. If you want your transaction coordinator to get a copy, at this point, you're going to go ahead and select room participants and select your coordinator. And you're going to want that to be later in that whole thing so they get the signed copy and make it say it receives a copy. Okay. The next portion is pretty cool, where it shows you why the pre-tag roles selection is paramount to this whole process. Because it already populates some things for us. See that? It already has the signatures. I think that's awesome. I don't have to worry about it. I mean, if I'm a little picky, which I am, I'm going to go in there and make it look really pretty and make sure it's right on the line and it's the correct size and stuff like that. Some of you might be the same exact way, and that's okay. Make sure to make it look the way you want it to. All right, so that one's off. Just make a little adjustment. And the reason why I make date sign go a little bit further to the left as opposed to right on top of it is because it actually is going to be about this long. It's going to have not only the date, but it'll also have the time, and the time is going to be recorded as hour, minute, second. Okay, so compensate for that little extra bit. Okay, and the date, if there's something in here and you forget, oh well, date sign isn't there, that's okay. There's a button right here and you can drag it right where it needs to be if you mistakenly delete it or something. Okay.
Hey Jesse, I've got a question.
Sure.
So I noticed in the people section before we created the envelope that your name already had your company listed as Keller Williams Southern Arizona. Mm-hmm. And it's showing that way right here on the footer. And I didn't see you change it in the details section of the detail area before we created the docs. Mm-hmm. Is that something that we can do so we don't have to change it every time?
Well, this was already, so no, yes and no, okay? So there are two different places. So let me go ahead, I'm gonna open up another window of DocuSign Rooms here. Okay. So in your preferences, under profile, make sure that this is showing correctly as Keller Williams, Southern Arizona. If it doesn't show that, make sure it does. Okay, so that's one way. Another thing that we can go, I'm gonna go back to the room here. Under the details section, just make sure it reflects correctly in the buyer section. And it doesn't on mine, for some reason. It showed up correctly, but we can fix that. Okay. All right. So this is a little funny. So you can type in your city, which is great. Country needs to be selected first in order to be able to select the state, and then go from there. So make sure that you know that order. Add country first, then go back to your state if you come across a field that's a little funky like this. Okay. So
Hey, Jesse, how does DocuSign know the time to put it in and where our clients might be and what their time zone is?
okay, so since Arizona law is going to be the authority over this contract, we're going to make sure that in our preferences, we have our time zone selected correctly here. So everything that we send out from DocuSign Rooms will reflect in Arizona time.
Perfect. I just wanted you to show everybody, you know, how to make sure that they are getting that correct, because that's going to be real important.
Yeah, especially now with out-of-state buyers coming in, sight unseen, submitting offers, and you want to get things done, just let them know. Arizona is the time that's there. I mean, it shows that on the listing agreement, right? It says this is the time zone we're working in. Here's the governing body that'll be that has authority over this transaction. Stuff
Right.
like
I'm getting offers on my listings and they're actually getting to me before their time zone says they signed it. And so other agents who are sending these out are selecting the correct time zones. And then when it gets to, say, Maine, you know, it's 2 or 3 hours later there and they're signing. And then it gets back to Arizona and it looks like they've signed before, you know, way after I got it. So just make sure that you get those time zones dialed in.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's important. My advice is follow the document for DocuSign Room setup. If you don't have it, again, email me and I'll get you that copy. Make sure you complete that entire thing. Me being me, I went ahead and entered in everything that I had an option for. So that's why my logo is there. That's why my picture is there. All the other pieces here are all filled out appropriately. Okay. Notifications, make sure that all of your notification boxes are checked. And you will only be notified via email. You guys see that? That's the only option for us. So make sure that's done. Inbox details, I mean, if you want to email yourself some docs into your room, you can set this up. Integrations is highly important. You don't need to set up a zip forms to be able to use the system. It's not required, so you can skip that. Make sure your NERDS ID is in there and your appropriate association is selected. If you have any problems with that, contact Heather on that so she can help resolve that issue for you. NWMLS has nothing to do with us, so skip that. If you want to be able to pull docs from a Google Drive or Dropbox or Box account, you can turn these toggles on. You don't need to. It's there for your option. It's an option for you there. Okay, so that's a quick little overview of the preferences section. Okay, so let's go back to rooms here. So Brandon, I hope that answered your question. We kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole for Bugs Bunny there.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, good. Great. So we're back here. So make sure that your docs have the correct footer in them. Okay. Now, one thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that the appropriate checkboxes are there. All right, so it's a buyer, so why, I don't think I will need this sellers at seller broker box here. We're not representing them in that. They're electing to use this as a buyer broker, so we'll check that box. Okay, you can double click or hit the space bar to fill that in. Also, make sure that you're using the correct read form from your libraries. Always choose the buyer one. So my recommendation when you're in the library section and you're at the document finder, type in buyer. That eliminates everything else that's not associated with buyers. Okay. That way, that checkbox is correct. You can resize these, and you know, if you want to, I would. That way it fits properly. Okay. Now there's some other things in here. Oh, we didn't check that. We didn't check that. Well, that's okay. Here's a checkbox. All right, we'll do another one. See this little add button right here? That'll bring up another checkbox. And we can add that one there. Also notice we don't want bugs to manipulate this at all. We want it read only. So I'm going to check that box as read only. And read only. Okay. There are other spaces here that weren't filled in ahead of time. That's okay. You can drop a text box if you forgot something and type it in, right? Shall be per MLS or whatever. Or you can put in a proper amount, or you can do something. It's up to you. There are some reservations of what you can do with it. Jody, what would be the recommended space for here when it comes to compensation? You're muted. Let me
Typically, you would put in 3% of sales price.
Yep.
Or if they're looking at new builds, you could say, or 3% of base price on a new build, you know, something like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, 3% of sales price. Always say 3% of what?
Yeah. Right. You can adjust the size of the box too, so it all fits in one line. Right. Boom.
Is that something we can build into our templates as far as having this pre-filled out with the things we don't ever change?
Yeah. That'll be the very last class that I teach in this series. Okay, so then you can add your text box here for your pay within days. Again, any field you don't want your buyer to manipulate, just make it read only. Okay.
Show us that read only real quick.
Yep. Right over here on the right hand side, there's a read only checkbox. Check it. It'll save you some headache, because then your buyer will be like, oh, I need to fill this out, and they'll start messing with it. And then you're going to get a notification that your buyer wants to edit the form. And then you're going to have to work through that and then get it set correctly. So save yourself a little bit of a headache and make it just say read only.
So you click on the page first?
No, I click on the field.
You click on the field and then go to the right? Oh, I see. Okay.
If I click on the page, it takes me to this.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Okay. Additional terms and stuff like that, if you want to spell out anything, just add text box. The text box is going to be your utility form there. Okay, it's just what it's going to be. And you don't have to make these for the buyer either. You can just go in here and make sure that it's you and you're the one that's filling this out. Just change the color. Just change it to you. So your buyer won't see it, but you're editing it now, so just do it now. Right? Make sure everything looks good there. See, that's where that changed up there, Brandon. You see that? Didn't show up properly there. It's good in the footer. It's just not right there in the firm name. So if you encounter something like this, you would need to go back and start over again. Because it's good. Yes?
When you switch to you and all the boxes are turned blue, does that mean you no longer have to check the read only? So if you went and put in all the blanks that you don't want your client to mess with, if you just put yourself in the top left, select yourself,
Yeah.
you don't have to click read only after that, correct?
The recommendation would still be to make it read only.
Okay. But can they, if you don't and it's under your name, can they still alter it?
No,
Okay.
no, it's only for you to alter, but if you make it read only, even you wouldn't need to alter it. Okay, because you're gonna make sure it's all right before you send it out, right? That's what we all do. We reread our forms, make sure we're not missing anything.
Absolutely.
There we go. That's, at least I got one. Anybody else want to agree with this one? Because I think it's important. I got a couple other head nods. All right, cool. I got a thumbs up. Boom. I like it. So yeah, if you do this and you find out, oh dang it, there's something messed up here, I need to fix it, because I can't do anything about this. See, I'm clicking on it and there's nothing I can do. So at this point, I'm going to go back, and you want to make sure your information is correct before you begin your envelope. And this is a really good example as to why. Because even though I could replace the form itself, that's cool. But there's one thing that's going to happen. If I replace just this buyer broker form, I would need to eliminate these over here and then reestablish them so that my pre-tagged role checkboxes will appear on the buyer broker agreement. Right? So double check before you move into the envelopes. Right? Doesn't take a long time to just double check that you did it right. Save yourself a little headache. Okay? So I'm not going to send these out. Obviously, bugsbunny@looneytunes.com. I don't have access to that email address. So we're going to save and close this, and we're just going to pretend that I got all my docs signed. Okay? So here we are, coming to the document section for this transaction. All right. So the reason why I went and started this transaction from within command is for this specific purpose. Okay? Follow me on this one. I'm going to click on attach multiple files. Do you see this option right here that says DocuSign? That's important. I want this option. This option is fantastic. I'm going to click it, and this is why. Now I can click this drop down, and oh my goodness, look at there. There's my ABA. Oh, I need my read. Boom, there it is. I want my buyer advisory. Boom, there it is. Wire fraud. I know I got that. Boom, there it is. Buyer broker agreement. Got that too. Done. How easy is that? And then I just click attach. Right? And then this is what I would submit to the Market Center for review once I have all my signatures.
Right. So don't put anything in your documents into your consultation folder or any folder until it's fully executed. You'll keep them in DocuSign rooms until they're fully executed or somewhere else, and then you'll bring them in here for compliance when they're completed. And then up in the top right hand corner, the blue box, that's where you would submit to the Market Center.
And
So, but they're not reviewed until we hit submit.
right.
Correct. You're just collecting them. So you have 72 hours to, once you have a signed document, to get them into the compliance section and hit submit.
Yep. Perfect.
Now, if you don't get a buyer broker agreement, you have no contract with this buyer, and therefore they could just hang out in here if you don't want to submit them right away. But if you get that buyer broker signed, that's a contract, and you need to submit to the broker within 72 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And that submit to MC thing is now open, right?
It is now open.
Yes, we are submitting documents daily already.
Mm-hmm. Sure is. That's pretty cool. I've heard a lot of good feedback. Oh, I love getting these notifications that, you know, something was wrong, or I need to just, you know, correct the file or upload the correct one. Like, that's really awesome. I like that. It's already working. And your notifications are really important in it. You'll get a notification here in the little bell within command. Or if you have the Kelly app installed, you'll get a notification through Kelly. A lot of us have a bad habit of turning off all notifications when we install apps. So make sure that your notifications are turned on for that app. Okay. I mean, I do it all the time. Like, I don't want to hear anything from Starbucks. Like, I'm fine. I can deal without it, you know? So I turn it off, and it just ended up being a habit from that. Okay. The other part, so we're not done yet with managing our stuff. We know we already submitted it to the market center, but there's a big portion right here that's missing, and we will cover this next week. This will be the commissions part. That's going to be highly important because this is the part you're going to get paid in. Because the big thing going away is green sheets. Yay! Who loves filling out green sheets? I see a lot of head shaking, so that's good.
The commission section is awesome and so easy compared to the green sheet. So you guys are gonna love it.
It's super cool. So other things that I wanted to mention in here, if in fact that you found something like, I'm gonna pick this multi-page form right here as an example. I'm gonna actually close this. I'm gonna just make sure this little checkbox is there. There's an option within actions. Where did it go? Anyway, there's an option for you to split up docs. So a lot of people have asked me about that. Well, Dotloop used to split up PDFs and stuff like that. Can I do that within DocuSign? Yes. I wish I had a document all together like that so I can split it for you. But there is a function within it, and it'll be either here or in the actions portion. Let me just see if it appears. Nope. So yeah, it'll be in this area here. Oh, there's combine, right? So I'm going to click combine. I'm just going to combine these. Oh, none of them can be combined. But if you have just, and the reason for that is because these say forms. Does everybody see that? It says form, 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 form. Yeah. It needs to be in PDF format in order to be able to combine and to split. So what you get from you get an offer from a buyer's agent and you upload the doc into your room. It's a PDF, so you'll be able to split the PDF, which is pretty cool. So that's why I don't have the proper example here, because they're not the right file type.
So, for example, if we got an offer and the buyer's rep had sent over the purchase contract with the HOA addendum and the lead-based paint addendum, but they did it as one PDF, then I could split it.
Yep.
Okay.
You can upload it in here and then check that specific file. There's a split option either here. Actually, it might even be within that merge. Might replace the merge. See how it says combine right there? It might even say split when you do that. But
hey, Jesse, how do we get that outside PDF into our DocuSign room?
I'm glad you asked. Right here under add. You click on add and you select computer if you have it saved locally on your computer. Me, in my case, I have Google Drive here. Sometimes I like to save whatever comes in through the email to my Google Drive automatically. So then I would just select Google Drive and upload the doc from there. Okay. So like I would go computer, and then here's my downloads, and here are some docs here.
So if I go to computer, I can select if I've put it in a Dropbox, that will be one of my options on the left column once I go to computer.
Yep, it's right in here for your preferences, right? So
yep.
We'll back to integrations real quick. So if you use Dropbox, just turn it on. So it's an option for you. Okay, so here's what that means.
And that's different. There's preferences in DocuSign rooms, and then there's profile in KW Command, right?
Yes.
We need to make sure both of them are correct.
Absolutely. Everything should be correct. See, I toggled that switch, and now Dropbox is an option for me to pull from. So check this out. I found some PDF files, so I'm just gonna combine these real quick, just so you can see what it does. All right, so where's the other PDF? There it is. Okay, combine, boom. New doc name. I'll just call them consults for now. Hit save. Okay. It's combined. You'll just have to know which one it is. There it is. It's under consult. You see that there?
Yep.
I'm going to delete these PDFs because I don't want it to be confusing. Just give me 1 second here. Clean it up a bit. One last one. There we go. And you can delete docs. Yay! I love this option. Cleans it up so much. So here's this one doc that I want to. I want to make sure that this one is something that I can manipulate here. So where did my option go? There it is. Split. You guys see that?
So you opened it first.
Open the doc first, and then go to Document Actions, and then click on Split.
Beautiful.
Then you click Split, and it functions just like .loop did, right? So you type in the name. So buyer, broker, his page is 1 through 2. Selected that. See that? How cool is that? Add another doc, ABA, just page 3. Add another doc. This will be the read or ready. And we'll just make that 4. So that's a purchase contract, right? So that's 15 pages worth. So from page 5 to 15. Oops, wrong box.
That is so much easier that way when you can actually see the documents instead of having to scroll through them.
Yeah, I love that it highlights it. It's super awesome.
Yeah, that's a great tool.
Right, so, and then I'm going to click on Save. And it'll retain the single doc that says consult, but it separated it all out now, just the way I had put that in there. How cool is that?
Love it. Love it.
Pretty sweet, right? I actually like this one way better than the .loop version.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, so that will make it, we're just right at 2 o'clock there. So that'll round out how to manage your docs. Does that cover your questions? Do you have any other lingering questions before we sign off?
What's the best way to share those docs with the other agent?
So the way to share the docs, my recommendation would be to download them. So I'm going to go like this, Document Actions, and download. Because there's an outbox with, I mean, you can send them from here, but there's no clear outbox. Notice we have an inbox, but there's no outbox. So we can't really see if it's sent out or not. So the recommendation would be to download your docs, add them to an email and send them off that way. That way you have record that you did send it.
So when you hover over it, you get a little circle in the top left corner, and then you put a checkbox in it, and then those are the docs that you're downloading.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
then
so
you put it in an email, then you have a trail showing proof that you have delivery, which is really what you want.
Yeah, let me show you something here. So I'm going to check these PDFs right here, and I'm going to download it. Okay. So these are the exact ones. See this funky little zip form?
Where?
At the bottom corner.
Oh, yes.
It's going to open up on my screen. Oh, they fixed it. Yay. Let me show you what this looks like. Hold on a second. It's fixed. And I'm really happy about that. Check it out. And there they are. It's named weirdly. It's a weird zip folder, but at least our docs are separated and there's no weird folder. There used to be weird folders in here, guys. But there it is. So then you would send this folder if you wanted to navigate to these on your email and send those on. If it were actual purchase contract relevant docs anyway, you're not going to send them consultation docs, but send them your purchase stuff via email for that paper trail. Pretty cool, huh?
Thank you.
You got it.
Jesse, when we send an offer over to a listing agent, we send it through DocuSign and we add a recipient which is a listing agent, after we receive it back that's signed by your buyer?
No, the recommendation would be to
It's still download them?
download it and upload.
So when you download, then you upload, you attach it to your email, then they're able to download it on their end to add their signatures?
Yeah, they would be able to add that to their own e-signature software that they use and send that off for signature themselves, because not everybody uses DocuSign.
Right, okay.
And it's not your job to set that up for them anyway. It's their job to set up the signatures for their clients after they had consulted with them to make sure that the terms and conditions are acceptable.
So then you get it back from that agent, let's just say, yay, it's received, it's accepted. Then once you receive the email back from the listing agent, then you upload it in here?
Yep, you click add. And if you have it saved to your computer, just navigate to it from your computer. If you have it saved in your Google Drive or your Dropbox or wherever you like to save your received files, just navigate to it and add it to the room.
But you don't have to add it to the room. If it's a completed document, you could put it right into your compliance section.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, you don't need to put it back in the room. That's an extra step unless something needs to be signed or initialed again. The room is there for DocuSign signatures.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, for me and the way I do things, I like to see all my docs in one space here. So if it's in DocuSign rooms and I see that it's there, beautiful, I can do that. I can add it here, and then I can add it right from the DocuSign room to where it needs to go.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, just a reminder to everyone that you have to keep your own files somewhere else other than in Command. So, and it's not DocuSign rooms.
No, DocuSign rooms is not it.
Yeah,
even though
you
technically,
want to have, right, you want to have a Dropbox or a box or just on your hard drive in documents, somewhere else where you're storing all of your documents, because legally through ADRE, you have to keep a separate file, separate from your broker's file, which is the command file.
Mm-hmm. Now, if there is an option through API Nation to be able to connect the two. So if you connect DocuSign rooms and you can have copies of whatever you do sent over to Google Drive. It's kind of expensive, but it's there.
Really expensive.
It's pretty expensive, but it is an option if you want to just save the automation. You can do it there, or you can upload your own docs yourself, which is $100 cheaper a month.
Right.
Especially these times, right? What do we do all through the spring was we're cutting costs, we're leaning out, guys. So don't tack on an extra $100 if you don't need to. Cool.
Jesse, so let's say you've got all your documents in here and then you've sent it out, you've downloaded them, sent them, emailed them out to be signed by the other side. And then when they send it back to you, now the form's completely complete. So you don't have duplication. Let's say you want to put it back into DocuSign, like you said. Would you delete all those other forms now and just have them be replaced by the completed file?
I wouldn't recommend that at all.
Okay.
You want to have versions of it. So what I would recommend is actually creating a folder.
Okay.
Right? So let's go ahead and create a folder. There's a create a folder option in here somewhere. Actions, there it is. Add folder. See that option right there?
Uh-huh.
Add folder. And then you would say right here, you can call them executed docs, and then whatever it is, right?
Okay.
So then you have a separate folder there. So whatever has been executed, you can just drag it over and keep it separated that way.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Good enough.
Yeah. Or you can do this too. You can select them and click on move, and then select the destination folder in current room, and then executed docs, move, and now they're separated out. It's kind of cool, right? So you can just drag them after you first move them. So now they're separated, right? So here's the executed stuff. Here's the stuff that I had in draft. And you can make as many folders as you want to keep it as organized as you want to. and go from there. And the cool thing is if I come into command and I want to add a file, right? Say I want to put a POA in here, and I go to my DocuSign. See, there's a root folder, and then you scroll down, and then there's the executed docs folder. So that'll make it pretty easy to keep things separated out so you can add it.
Yeah, I really like that.
Which is why I like using the DocuSign rooms still. Like, even if I receive a PDF from a seller, like it's an executed contract, I still like to put in the DocuSign rooms so I can maintain it this way. It's just simpler for me. Less clicks on this end. It depends on you. As long as it gets in there, I guess that's the most important thing, right? In this case, it's the destination and not the journey. That's important. Okay, cool. Any other questions? I see some faces that have some thinking going on here.
Oh yeah, Jesse.
Like a different language sometimes, Jesse.
Oh, I know.
And
Next time I'll speak Japanese. Don't worry.
And my eyes are cross-eyed.
Yeah, mine got cross-eyed too. But the more you practice in it, the better you're gonna get. You just dedicate the time. Right? We're all. What do they say? It's not about selling real estate. It's about keeping a schedule. Right? So keep your schedule. Time block some time throughout the day. Work through some of it. Click through everything. You know, learn the nuances of the system. What works, what doesn't, what you have questions on, what you think you're a pro at. Keep track. You'll know it. You'll figure out your best practice for yourself. And then once you get to those questions, you have resources. You can ask me. You can use KWU as a resource in case it's like midnight and you're working on something. So there's this command training portion here, and it brings you right in here. And what's cool is if I come right here to command stuff, right? Get started. I want to command open. It's taking me down here now. They redesigned this actually. Good. Click learn on my own right there. And then you can find your training here. Okay, so play around with this too. This is a huge resource for after hours. Or you can hit up YouTube or a lot of other places too if you have your late night question. For all you night owls out there.
Jesse, I have a question. It's Dorothy Moore.
Sure.
Since we're on a team with 3 people or 2 people, do we go into command on each of our own, or do we do it as a team?
Great question. The recommendation would be for the Rainmaker to turn off individual or private opportunities. That way everything shows up in the team opportunities, and everybody that's assigned to that opportunity can see it.
For instance, I do most of everything that goes through Dotloop.
Okay.
And I put together most of the offers and contracts.
Okay.
But you're thinking that, but Lauren is the grain maker, so I'm going to go into Dotloop, into command as Lauren. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You go in there, see how there has this assignee section within team? If it's a group, see, let me go back one. Notice how when I go to the sales pipeline, I have my group selected here. It says this is the team opportunity section. Okay, so make sure that that's selected there. And when you create the opportunity, make sure that it's created with the team entered in, which mine shows here. And then if you do that, you can add your assignees. Anybody that's assigned, when they go into command to look at the opportunity, will see what's assigned to them specifically. The Rainmakers will see everything, but the assignees will only see what they're assigned.
Okay.
Okay.
So Dorothy, you're going to log in as yourself. Lauren would log in as herself. Right, Jesse?
Mm-hmm.
But they would make sure they're on the team. The Rainmaker will see everything. So she needs to make Dorothy an assignee, I believe.
Yes.
So that Dorothy can see it all too.
Mm-hmm.
So in changing documents, if Lauren decided to go in and change something, she could, or add to it, even though I had created it.
Yes.
Yes.
So when you originally set up your opportunity, right, make sure you have all assignees entered in appropriately. So then when you go to start a transaction, when you have multiple assignees and you hit start a transaction, you'll get another window that pops up here. It'll say buyer agent 1 and then buyer agent 2. Enter in both people, right? So then when it goes to the DocuSign rooms, both you and Lauren will have access to that room by just doing that setting right from here within Command.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And if that doesn't work, you can always go back and assign, and then create the assignee within Command, and then you can invite, Lauren to that room so she can have access, or you to that room to have access to.
Or Jill, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
or whoever it is, yeah.
Or Jill, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it. All right. Any other questions? Looks good. Hey, this is probably the most participation I've had in a compliance class so far. We had over 20 people, which is pretty awesome. So kudos to all of you for investing the time to learn this system, because this is for you. It is for you. This is how you'll get paid. This is how you're going to submit your files. It's a tremendous system. Get acquainted with it, hang out with it, play around on the different applets. Learn its functions. It's here. It's Gary invested, or he budgeted $1 billion to the system for a reason. He wants it to be the perfect ecosystem for agents. So keep playing around with it. So with that, tomorrow there is the Tech Bootcamp with Heather. It's going to cover a couple of things. I don't have my schedule with me specifically, but she's going to cover some basic applet descriptions and stuff like that, and their functions, basic functions. And then on Thursday, I will have Command Like a Boss at 1 p.m. to go more in depth. Now, who has participated in both? I think Cindy has, and I think Teresa has, right? So Teresa, let me ask you this question. The difference between Wednesday and then my class, what's the biggest difference you see?
Simply Wednesday would be like an introductory or overview, and then Thursday digs in deeper. So they build on each other, which I really like.
Yeah, so I like to introduce more advanced practices within the different applets. So, and the cool thing about this is it's going to be a rolling 5-week training course. So it's going to be the same in the next 5 weeks. So if you missed it, or you don't like using YouTube, you can join in on those next time. Okay.
Hey, Jesse, can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
So stay on that screenshot right there. I just want to remind everybody that you can go in here and create your own Bugs Bunny or whatever you want. Just don't submit it. As long as you don't hit submit to MC, you can go in here and you can practice and play. You can delete it later. If you put the commission at 0, it won't ruin your numbers if you're trying to track your numbers. So get in here, like Jesse said, and start entering stuff and playing with it. And or those agents that are seasoned and have been doing transactions throughout this year, go ahead and put the transactions that have already closed in here. And there, you don't have to add the documents, but put the contacts and make the opportunity so that your numbers will adjust and you can see what your year looks like.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Thanks so much there, Jody. All right, guys, I think that'll do it for us here with 2:16. I want to go ahead and respect your time. There is growth committee meeting coming up here at 2:30 if you want to join on that. But we look forward to seeing you guys in the next trainings.
Thanks a lot, Jesse.
Thanks so much. Have a great one, everybody.
Bye-bye.